Welcome back, everyone. This is the Oracle Decodes Leap Year, the Joker, and the Fool. So what we're going to do is start out at timeanddate.com's website and take a look at the information. And this is very similar information you're going to find not only at timeanddate.com's website, but anywhere you look about the explanation that's given of why we have leap year in the first place. So as you can see by taking a look at the graphic, this explanation is all related to the given heliocentric model of the universe that we've all been taught in school, right? And when I say heliocentric model of the universe, I mean that the model we're given, right, is that everything, the Earth, all the planets, and the moon revolve around the sun. That's the center of the solar system in that model. So the leap year explanation all has to do with the given heliocentric model of the universe. So you're going to find this information pretty much everywhere, similar to what you're going to find here. But what I wanted to point out is that, remember when we were talking in the video piece, The Oracle Eyes the Timeline Pirates, we were looking at that piece into the changeover from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar and why that changeover needed to be made to keep the seasons in sync with reality, right, in the calendar. So the leap year was already incorporated into the Julian calendar. And we talked in that piece, The Oracle Eyes the Timeline Pirates, that it was because of Julius Caesar's interactions at that time in history with Egypt that in the Julian calendar, leap years were already accounted for. And we learned that it was actually the wink phenomenon that occurs in the spring and in the fall that the all-seeing eye, or the real oracle, actually does. That was the real reason for needing to change over from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar when that discovery about the all-seeing eye, or the real oracle, was made. And we said we would get back to leap year. So this is what we're doing in this video piece. So just wanted to point out that all the information about it you are going to be given is going to be related to the heliocentric model of the universe. Now, something else before I show you what really leap year is all about. When I was doing research into everything, right, that we're showing you here with the all-seeing eye or the real oracle, in the research, queued up some things in Stellarium from the perspective of what I wanted to look at is how the sky appears around the pyramids of Giza in Egypt. So what I did in Stellarium was take the location pin and put it over that area. And when I did so, I found something quite interesting I never knew existed, and you probably didn't either. So we're going to take a look at it. When I was moving the location pin, it was hovering over a location named the 6th of October. That's the name of the city in Egypt. So I've never heard of any location named after any date, but this one is. And if you go to Wikipedia, you can take a look at some more information about the city, the 6th of October, in Egypt. And under the history that's given on Wikipedia about the 6th of October in Egypt, you're going to learn that it says the settlement was established in 1979 by then Egyptian President Anwar el-Sadat. But the interesting thing we're going to look at is the last sentence here. The city's name commemorates the commencement of the 1973 Arab-Israeli War on the 6th of October, 1973. The same date chosen as Egypt's Armed Forces Day. So this would be a holy day or a holiday celebrated in Egypt, and they're telling us that the reason why is because it was the beginning of the Arab-Israeli War that began on October 6th. So of course we queued up in Stellarium a screenshot of the location, right, from the viewing perspective of somebody who was actually in the city called the 6th of October in Egypt, and we queued up the date for the 6th of October, and we did it for what we commonly call this year 2020. And I did this, as you can see at the time there, for 10 o'clock p.m. And the reason why is because when I took a look at what was going on in the sky story on October 6th, taking a look at that 24-hour period and watching what was happening as I was running it through Stellarium, of course I was paying attention to our friend that we find in almost every piece at this point, the constellation of Orion. And as you can see in this Stellarium screenshot, from the perspective of somebody in the 6th of October, the city in Egypt, looking due south, paying attention to everything that's rising in the east and setting in the west along that red arc of the ecliptic, we're taking a look at Orion's position. And as you can see, he's lined up on that very special crossing point of the green line, which is the north-south meridian line, and that red arc of the ecliptic. But notice that Orion's elbow, if you will, is just hanging on, right? He's just hanging on to the cross by his arm, meaning that's the last part of the constellation of Orion that appears on the east side of this special crossing point of the north-south meridian line in the ecliptic. So if you go just, of course, one more day to what we commonly call October 7th of 2020, at the same time, 10 o'clock, when Orion is lined up in that location at the cross of the north-south meridian line and the ecliptic, you're going to see that it is that day that now the entire constellation of Orion, including his arm, is now completely to the west side of that special crossing point, the north-south meridian line, and the ecliptic. This is obviously the real reason why the 6th of October, Egypt, was named so. And it's no coincidence that this particular location is only 11 miles from the pyramids at Giza, which are rumored, right, to line up the three pyramids with the three belt stars of the constellation of Orion. So that was just a very interesting thing I wanted to show you. And they hint, right, at what they call their holy days or their holidays. We were told from the Wikipedia entry, right, that it was Armed Forces Day. So I can now show you the real reason why the 6th of October in Egypt on that day is celebrated as Armed Forces Day. All right, so what we're going to get into now is show you the real reason why it's called leap year and we have a leap year to begin with. So we're queuing up, right now you're looking at a video clip queued up from the Northern Hemisphere viewer's perspective, and it's set for the date. You're going to see, we're going to run this year over year, but keep the date on what we commonly call December 2nd at midnight. And as you can see, it's because the location of the constellation of Orion is right at the east side, this time, of that special crossing point, the north-south meridian line, and the cross of the ecliptic. What you're looking at, as I'm rolling things over year to year, you're watching the dance that Orion does and learning why it's really called leap year. Every 3 years, the constellation of Orion is stepping back 3 steps, and on the 4th year, the leap year, the constellation of Orion takes a big leap forward, and as you can see as you're watching, that leap year is the year that Orion's bow actually touches the line of the north-south meridian line. So just watching it slowly, 2012 was a leap year. Going forward those 4 years, you're going to come upon 2016 and see the leap again. And watch it happen as we go into what we commonly call 2020, a leap year, of course, this year. The real reason why it's called leap year is because of the dance Orion does year after year, just slightly taking 3 steps back and 1 giant leap forward on that every 4 or leap year. So you can see why it's so named a leap year as Orion does this dance. This has nothing obviously to do then with the given heliocentric model of the universe that we're taught. Once again, we're making an observation that very likely has not been taught or seen by us common people, right, in perhaps thousands of years. Now, the other thing I'm drawing your attention to at this point is that we, in the last piece, decoded a specific tarot card. And we're doing that again with the Fool. Because what I've also discovered with taking a look at everything that the real all-seeing eye or the real oracle has to show us is that the tarot deck is also encoding all of what we're seeing in the sky story through this particular lens. Now, when you're taking a look at the Fool, we can now completely decode what this card is actually telling us. It's actually a mirror image of what you're actually looking at in the sky story, right? So taking a look at the constellation of Orion in our sky story and taking a look at the Fool, you can see that even the body position of the Fool is laid back with his arm outstretched, right, above his head, just like the constellation of Orion does in the sky story. The other interesting thing is that this card is depicted with the Fool holding a stick in his hand, right, with a satchel on the end, which, of course, is another way to represent Orion's bow in the sky story. The Fool is at the edge of a cliff, and behind him are perhaps mountains, and right down near his feet, you can see the white dog, also depicted on the card. And if you look, of course, over to the east of where you can find the constellation of Orion, you will always find Canis Major, or the Great Dog, following Orion on his travels. So why is the card, the Fool, the Zero card? And why is it called the Fool? Well, looking at the symbolism of the card, where the Fool is at the edge of the cliff, right, with his body laid back and his arm outstretched, you can see that this is reflecting the constellation of Orion, and specifically the dance that the constellation of Orion is doing, determining leap year, which is why the Fool is just a step away from leaping off the cliff in this card. High atop, looking like it's a mountain range, right? So you can plug that into the sky story with Orion's location being at the top of the mountain, you could say, where he's reaching that special crossing point of the north-south meridian line in the ecliptic. The Fool is given the 0 number because it's kind of a wild card, right? You have 3 years where Orion is stepping back and 1 where he's taking the leap forward. So it's kind of the wild card to not know, where in that cycle you are looking at. And so is it a leap year or isn't it? That's basically what the Fool is encoding. And it's also the reason why when you're interpreting the tarot cards, the Fool often represents the most powerful card in the deck. It's the highest trump card, and its interpretation when you get it is that it's usually new beginnings, or you're told that the Fool can take you anywhere. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you so that you can see how this has been encoded over time is the modern day playing card deck that we're given. Many people know is based on the tarot deck. And particularly in our modern day playing card deck, we are given the Joker cards. And these are usually only used in certain card games, but they're not used always in every game. It's the wild card again, right? But as you're looking at the imagery that's actually put on this particular Joker card, you can see the Joker standing there, and then once again, down by his foot is the little white dog. And even with the spot, the dark spot around the dog's eye, once again giving us the one-eyed symbolism, referencing back again specifically to the one-eyed god of Orion in the myth of Orion that we're given. So now you know why what we commonly call 2020, being a leap year, has been intentionally wild and dressed up as something else. 2020 has been a year full of events that have been masked, and we're unmasking all of the reasons that we are being asked over and over again to participate on the world stage in rituals that we have no idea we're dressing up and participating in. Hopefully with this information that we keep sharing throughout these video pieces, we can turn that around and awaken more people to this real, powerful knowledge and wisdom so that we no longer have to play the fool. Until next time, be well.